review. So this one is How to Kill a Vampire. For obviously goth vampires. I like that stuff. Surprise, surprise. Of course a goth's gonna like a vampire novel. And this one, it's only about 177 pages, so it's super short, but I think that's a good thing because, well, it's repetitive. It's covered stuff that's been covered 100 times better in hundreds of different books. Mind you, it does have like a little bibliography at the back, tells you TV series and everything else that's in it. Couple like web pages, there's an index in here. The chapters are split up like fairly well, but it's a boring read for me because everything in here I've already heard 100 times from other sources that are either funnier or better written. And there is some humor in this, but the humor is very, very little, and it's not very good. It's kind of bland humor. Though the person likes to tout themselves as someone who knows a ton about vampires, and really it's just stuff that we've seen rehashed from like everywhere else, honestly. And it even goes on to praise Twilight, Stephanie Meyer, and anyone who knows anything about vampire novels knows that Twilight is like one of the worst. Not well written, just not good. Like, I literally put out a Twilight run not that long ago, and this book, they literally praise it as being great and amazing. I think some of the actual quotes was very good and breathtaking, which is not accurate for Twilight at all. Part of me thinks that was in there just purely because this was probably written around the time that Twilight came out, so, you want to grab the attention of all the Twihards and everything, but now that we're out of that, little time zone of Twilight, I think kind of just comes off tacky and just not good. And frankly, hearing someone praise Twilight in a book that's supposed to be all about vampires and information on vampires, it cheapens your statement and makes it sound like you don't really know what you're talking about with vampires when you cite, like, one of the worst vampire novels as being an amazing one. And the other thing is, this book very clearly comes from the stance of vampires are monsters, and they deserve to be killed. And personally, I don't like that. I like my vampires being, like, seen in a sort of positive light, or the main characters, stuff like that. I don't like it when vampires just turn into nothing but ravenous villain monsters that must be destroyed, because they're different from us, and they drink blood, so they must die. I don't like that trope, and this book, like, it's very, very, very clearly that way. Unfortunately. Which is kind of confusing that it also then goes on to praise Twilight, when Twilight is not even sort of anti-vampire whatsoever. I mean, it's literally vampire romance. So, book that basically wants all vampires dead praises book that has vampire love in it. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but... And overall, I give it probably a 2 out of 5 stars. There's not a lot to say on it since it's just simply basically covering vampire history, more or less. But it's a boring read, I'd say. Unless you're someone who's, like, never really read a whole lot of these kind of books on vampires. If you're that kind of person, then yeah, it might be worth a read. Maybe. But, yeah. I really wouldn't recommend it. I got this from a used store, though, so it's... Why not? And honestly, like, the art on the front of this thing is better than the book is. And the feel of the book's really nice, I'll give it that, too. It's got a nice feel to it. And look at the author. Like, the little decal of the author on the back. Very, gothy looking. Yeah, lifelong vampire lover. Yeah.